Hey everyone, hi, hello, it is me, Alison Rosen, and I'm sitting here with Jim Jefferies.
Hello.
And a lot has happened since you've come in. You explained that you're kind of hungover, or no, you were drunk when we asked you to do the podcast?
You asked me to do the podcast very long ago when I was here with Adam, and then I said yes, and then you confirmed, and I said sure, but I was drunk when I confirmed.
Oh.
I just looked back on that other text. I did want to come. I'm a bit late.
Whatever. I feel like we're already off to a terrible start.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. But wait, when was the surprise party for you?
Oh, I turned 36 on Valentine's Day.
Oh, happy birthday in a few days.
I complained to my girlfriend that it's a shitty time to have a birthday because all your friends are out with their girlfriends or husbands or whatever. And so I had never had a party, and I wouldn't want to organize one because then you have to ask people, like, come and celebrate. And also 36 is a boring birthday. Usually only celebrates 40s, 35, 30.
Right,
you know?
right.
And so she organized a surprise party, and I was genuinely surprised. But my girlfriend, I bought some cowboy boots just on a whim about 2 weeks earlier, so she decided to make it cowboy themed.
Imagine what would have happened if you had bought some other kind of shoe.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was all bales of hay, and everyone looked
like
a
a
little
Sadie Hawkins dance.
They looked a little bit like those plastic cowboy hats. They looked like Woody from Toy Story. No one really got right into it. Then there was the occasional person who just rocked up with a bandana around their neck. That was the effort they put in.
How did you feel about that?
It's an amazing thing, a surprise party, because you go, oh, these are the people who liked me. And then you start going, where's this person?
That's why, in general, I always find it best if it turns out that I have to work on my birthday. Yeah. Because otherwise I turn into this like weird, greedy social bean counter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I just want to... Well, actually, no, I go the other way, though, because then I start to feel bad if, like... Because I think, maybe I'll just go out with like one person or two people or three. And then I start to think, well, no, but that person will feel bad if I don't and that. And then all of a sudden I'm like trying to plan the most awkward dinner party ever.
Also, I have to... I never wish people a happy birthday. I never bother. I'm a horrible person. So why should anyone wish it to me? You know, but it was very nice. But a lot of people from my TV show turned up, and I feel
legit on FX.
Legit on FX, 10:30 Thursdays, and critically acclaimed legit on FX. But we need ratings to get renewed, and it's on Valentine's Day. So I wonder if that will hurt us. But I can't.
All you Nielsen box folk. Make up my listenership.
Exactly.
Tune in.
We get ratings like this, so they go, you just went up in 18 to 34-year-old men. You went dramatically down in women. And you're like, how do they fucking know?
How do they know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But we have to get, I think they want men from 18 to 34 on FX, because all the adverts on my show are car insurance and Taco Bell. You know, so it's like, that's what they're trying to sell it to.
Yeah.
Young men.
So wait, but how did she pull off this surprise party? And were you really surprised?
We still have 2 episodes to edit, and so the director said, "Oh, you got to come out to the editing room," and then he made me edit for a little while, and then I came back, and I was genuinely surprised. I actually drove up to my house and went, "Oh, there's a lot of cars parked out here. Someone's having a party." You know, I didn't even think.
It was for you.
Yeah, it threw me off because it wasn't actually my birthday. It was several days before my birthday, but it was very nice, and we.
Did you almost cry or anything?
No, but it is just shock, and I think people expect a speech or something. I just sort of wander around in a daze, and I hadn't been drinking for a couple of months, and she bought a big margarita machine, one of those big Slurpee machines, and fill it up. So I thought, well, you know, I can't get into too much trouble in my own house.
And?
I got wasted. I got wasted and crawled up the stairs and fell asleep and had a terrible hangover.
Why hadn't you been drinking for a couple of months?
The hangovers are getting too much for me now, really, to do. So it used to be that I got drunk at shows, and then the flights back with a hangover is terrible. You know, so I just thought I'd give it a bit of a rest. And I'm doing so much press for the TV show that I didn't want to be unreliable and show up late. or anything.
Yeah, no, it's totally okay. I didn't mean to give you a hard time about it or anything. I just wanted to bring up the stuff that had happened before we turned the mics on. Because also you said that you were going 10-pin bowling tonight.
I'm going 10-pin bowling.
And
yeah.
and then I took a stab at it and I said, "Is that just bowling?" And then you said, "What do you call it?" And I said, "We call it bowling."
Yeah, but lawn bowls is very popular in Australia,
right?
So,
okay.
And in Britain as well, they call it 10-pin bowling. Yeah, there's a joke that I got a job at a bowling alley. I can't remember who says this joke. I got a job at a bowling alley. It's not full time. It's 10-pin. Right? Like so that joke obviously wouldn't work here in America.
Yeah. Well, if they listen to this podcast first, it would.
I'm trying to think who did that. I want to give the credit to the guy. Tim Vine. That's a Tim Vine joke.
So have you ever been 10-pin bowling?
Not for years, but it was on a whim. Mm-hmm. And so I'm gonna go bowling. And I've got the baby now. So you try to find activities that you can go out with your friends and not look ultra creepy with a baby.
So like what's out?
Yeah, like you can have a baby in a pram at a 10-pin bowling alley and you don't look odd, but like sometimes me and my girlfriend will go to a nice restaurant and the baby's asleep, but people look at you like, oh.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just fucking eat at Applebee's and Chuck E. Cheese.
How do they look at you when you have you flown with the baby yet?
I have flown with the baby, yeah.
How did you feel about that? Because I feel like no one ever wants to see a gigantic person or a baby on a plane.
He's a good baby. He doesn't cry on planes.
Oh.
He hasn't yet. He's been on 3 flights and he hasn't cried. And there was a baby near us that was screaming, and I sort of looked like, hey, look at how good this one is, you know. But the secret is to breastfeed him while you're taking off, so his ears don't pop. So for any parents out there,
yeah, that's a good tip. So how old is the baby?
He's 3 months old.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
He's brand new.
He's brand spanking. I'll show you some photos afterwards. He's a lovely little fella called Hank.
How is new fatherhood?
It's it is what it's just trying to not let something die. You know what I mean? Like you check on it, is it dead? No, it's not dead. There's no real parenting. I can't give it advice. You know, we're at that weird stage where now he's grabbing for things. Like in the last 2 days, he started picking things up of his own accord, and we're like, wow. And then we check online, and we're like, yeah, that's like a week advanced.
Obviously, you have a very smart baby.
Yeah, we're going, yeah, we think he's pretty good. And then, like, there was a bit where he learnt that he could throw his head around, and that scared us because we thought autism straight away. We went, oh, he's throwing his head around. And no, it turns out he just figured out he could do that. He did that for 2 days and then stopped doing it because he probably had a headache or something. Yeah. But, you know, all these people who say, you watch a news story and someone will say something like, they'll go, a British nanny shake the baby. Yeah. And they'll always be saying this to someone and we'll go, I can't believe that someone would do that. The people who say that are people who don't have babies. I could, if I was a bit, stupid, I could definitely shake him. When in the middle of the night when you're tired and you're like, go to sleep, come on. Go to sleep. And he's just not taken to it. Oh, yeah, I can shake him up, yeah.
Out of frustration?
I never have. Yeah, I can see how people do it out of frustration. Because you're over... But I'll tell you what, having a baby... way easier than a coke habit.
How so?
Well, coke habits, you're waking up all the time, but with depression, it is a happy tired. It is you go in there and you feel a sense of accomplishment when you put him to bed, when you just like do that light little shake and the thing and you sing and you can see his eyes drop down and then you go back in, you look at your girlfriend like, fucking, I'm the king, man. You know what I mean? When you do it and she doesn't, it's there is a sense of accomplishment. Where a coke habit, you wake up all the time and you got a dry mouth and you're a bit depressed, you know. I think if you're thinking of having a baby, try a coke habit first. Just see how it feels.
But if you're thinking of having a coke habit?
You can't go the other way. Social services come in. Don't they?
So have you had a coke habit?
In the past, not for years, but in London it's socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Over here it doesn't feel so much. But
but people, I know people here who lived there and would talk about, like, I feel like Spain and Britain are the places where I hear about people just passing around a plate after dinner. Yeah,
London, for example, in certain comedy clubs, if another comedian just pulled a gram of coke and started doing it on the coffee table, no one would bat an eyelid, where here in America you'd still have to scurry off to the bathroom to do it. I mean,
is it like akin to pot?
Pot's still popular, but it's... But
I mean, like, the way we regard pot, is that how it's regarded there, or is it the way we regard Like cigarettes and alcohol, like it's that acceptable.
Well, you guys, cigarettes are more acceptable there as well, and alcohol's way more acceptable here. You still get this whole stigma around, I think you've got a drinking problem. That one, right?
You can do such a good American accent.
Where no one ever had said I had a drinking problem in the UK. But it's Coke over there. If you're at a party, you'd assume there'd be Coke at the party. Where over here, you'd still, even at a party, you'd probably go off to a different room.
Right.
Where people,
the bathroom, probably.
Yeah, people don't have any problems just pulling it out and openly saying, anyone want some Coke? You know, it's completely different.
Right. Well,
America's much more healthier for me.
It is.
Yeah, the food's worse, but, you know, like in the health-wise, it's better tasting. But, there's not as many drugs out here.
Are you happier here?
I am happier here. Yeah. I'm much happier in America. Yeah, I love Britain, but it was a different time in my life.
When did you live there?
I lived there from 23 years of age to 32 years of age.
And you lived in Australia before that?
I brought up in Australia. Left Australia when I was 23.
Where in Australia? Even though I only know of
Sydney.
Yeah,
I'm from Sydney. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I've seen the Opera House in a special episode of Facts of Life when they went down under.
It went down. It's a beautiful city. Sydney. I go back there and I'm amazed how. If I had a daughter, I would have called her Sydney. That was the daughter's name, but we call it Hank after my girlfriend's dead father. And there was a weird thing because my mother was like, "What about your father?" And I'm like, "Well, he's not dead. We can't have a competition here."
Right. Did that placate her?
It was all right. My mother didn't like the name Hank because she thought it was too common.
Is it Henry or is it Hank?
Hank. That's how it's just straight in. Because the father was Dutch and his name was Henricus.
Oh, and you didn't want to go
everyone
that far.
called him Hank. We weren't going to call him Henricus. Stuff that.
No. What's your dad's name?
Gary.
That's Gary, the producer's name.
Yeah, Gary, yeah. And his middle name, my son's middle name is Lennon.
Lennon.
Yeah, I like the Beatles and communism.
I was going to say, is it Lenin or Lenin?
Yeah. Named him after a Beatle, yeah.
Right. I know, I was thinking, I just got a puppy, which is not at all the same as a baby, although I feel like I relate to a lot of what you're saying. Like, all of a sudden I have this feeling of like, just, oh my God, the responsibility I had. I feel like it's just a little bit, in a small way, I can understand what people with a new baby feel like, because I've never felt this before, this sense of, oh my God, there will never be a release from this.
Yeah, it's the taking care of someone else that is reliant on you. And the dog is the same thing. And it is very satisfying. It's also a pain in the ass, but it does make you feel more adult all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, when my girlfriend was pregnant, I wanted to get a dog, and my girlfriend told me whilst pregnant, I'm not responsible enough for a dog.
Was she right, or have you proven her wrong now?
I'll tell you what, we still don't have a fucking dog. I'd like to have one, but she says I travel too much and she'd have to take care of it, which is true. But I'd like to have a dog. I think it's good for a kid to have a dog as well, teach them some type of responsibility. Because I don't understand these people who have 2 kids right away. I can't see myself having another kid for a long time.
Yeah, I know. I think about that. I think you have one that's like 1.5. How are you popping out another already?
Yeah.
They're not going to take care of each other.
Well, people say do it quick because that way, you know, it's also the end game of getting out of it.
Right. Oh, right.
You know, I'm 18 years away now from being free again.
So it's easier to tolerate like 20 years than 25.
Yeah, you get 20 years in the cell,
right?
And then you're out.
But are you having that feeling? A little bit?
No, because it's when you're in 18 years, when I'm in my 50s and all that type of stuff, I think I'll enjoy having the interest of what he's up to. Hopefully he's not a problem and a drug addict or whatever where I have to like actually take care of him or he's a problem. But it's I understand now why my parents always want to know what's going on. And I never got him. What's going on? What are you doing? What are you up to? And I'm like, what do you care for? What?
Yeah.
You know, and I understand now. I'm a hobby to my mother.
Right, a pastime.
Yeah, it's a pastime. It's they can't do anything. The world's boring when you're old.
Yeah.
And so they live vicariously through younger people. And I guess that's what I'll do when I'm older.
Oh, this makes me feel guilty for not responding to emails from my mom, which are like just 3 words in their question, like, How are you? How was this? Like exactly what you're saying,
I get it now. It still bothers the shit out of me.
Why does it bother you?
Because my mum just is constantly on me, like, what am I up to? And my mum's very... So the TV show's out at the moment, right? And it's not airing in Australia yet, if at all. It might never air in Australia. But to my mother, it mustn't be a very good show if it's not airing in Australia.
Right.
And you think, Mum, that's 20 million people. We're trying to sell it to these 330 million people in this country first. Yeah. And she's like, oh, no. The Nine Network won't show it. I think it's too sweary or something. So it's weird because if we get to a second season, I'll cast someone as my mother, and there'll be a lot of things that she's done in the actual show, and it may hurt her feelings. But I'm out of ideas. I've got to write new episodes.
What's your mom like?
She's a big woman, big, large woman who sits in a lazy boy and orders people around. Is the most succinct way of saying it. She's a largish sort of lady who I have mocked over the years in my stand-up, and I regret some of it. My dad's like a skinny, sort of active sort of bloke, and my mum likes chocolates. It's a weird... My mum's always in and out of hospital. I think that's her happiest time is when she's in hospital.
Why?
Because there's people doting on her, people visit her. There's nurses check on her. She gets to tell the lady that's laying next door all about her sons and what they're up to, and that's old lady heaven.
Yeah, you're right. I know. It's that, or sometimes they do it at a manicure place.
I call it having a mum off. It's like a dance off, but it's for mums. Where the two mums sit there and they compare occupations of their sons and what they're up to. And for years and years, my mum was very disappointed in what I was up to. But now I'm a relative success, so she's okay with it. And
how many siblings do you have?
Two older brothers. And one of my older brothers is a very successful property developer, does shopping centres.
In Australia?
In Australia. My other brother's a cop. So,
in Australia as well?
Yeah. Have a cop
a lot
brother.
Of range
in
the Jefferies or the Nugent family.
We're like the A-team.
You're Jeff Nugent, right? Is that correct?
My real name is Jeff Nugent, but my stage name is Jim Jefferies. And the family in legit we've called the Nugents. There's a little nod.
Yes, I saw that. Why did you decide to change it?
I remember going. Okay, I was Jeffrey with a G, and on my first ever gig, I went on and I was introduced as Godfrey Nugent. And I thought, we can't do this. We can't be called Godfrey Nugget. And
where was that?
That was in Sydney. And then Nugent's a very uncommon name in Australia. Over here, because of Ted Nugent, it's more well known. Right. And then also, I don't want to be associated with Ted Nugent either. Yeah. He's not the guy that I want to have people reference all the time to me. So Jim was my middle name, and I was thinking Jeffrey James, and then Jim Jefferies, and then that's what I've been called ever since. But my son's got my stage surname because I figure I'll change it one day properly. So I'm not married to my girlfriend, so she's got a different name. So all three of us have different names. Completely. It's a kind of a thing to get on planes.
I bet, yeah.
They're like, why is this baby got a... And you're like, wow, what about your wife? We're not married. Then there's that judgment call that the lady behind the counter gives you.
Do you think you guys will get married?
I hope so, yeah. Yeah, I'm not rushing into that. We conceived a child fairly early in our relationship, so... I want to see how everything pans out, but I'd like to, yeah. Sorry.
Pushing the microphone at you.
I was leaning back, so hopefully my girlfriend wouldn't hear that.
Oh, she doesn't listen.
So I don't think she listens. But her family are very religious, and they came when the baby was born, and her mother brought holy water.
Oh, wow.
I walk in, and she's like sprinkling fucking water on the baby's head, right? And everyone looked at me because they know I'm an atheist, and they freaked the fuck out, right? And I said, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. It's not like I'm a Muslim and you're going against my religion. Right. I don't have a religion. Do your voodoo. Enjoy yourself. Knock yourself out if you think this will help something. Just sprinkle some water on his head. And then the mother said she wouldn't stay with me and Kate in the house because we were living in sin. And I'm like, that's another incentive not to get married. You know what I mean? Oh, your mother will never stay with us. Right. Why we're not married? Oh, no. Oh, she's got me. I won't get that company.
Is your girlfriend religious?
No. No.
And she's on your show, right?
She's in legit. She's in 2 episodes. She's in the first episode and the final episode.
Who does she play in the first
She
episode?
plays a prostitute in the first episode that we...
That's what I thought. Okay.
We get to sleep with the disabled guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching it last night, actually, and I remember you had told me, how you guys met and stuff, and so I thought, I think that's her. Yes.
A lot of characters come back in the final episode. She's back in that one as well. But I can't give away too much what happens there. But have you watched any other episodes?
Gary, I have not had a chance to yet.
I have.
Gary
he's
a huge fan.
But I love that show. It's really great. My roommates and I all watched together.
Episode 3 was sweet.
Yeah, it was. That one was pretty great.
Fill me in.
Basically, I masturbate off Billy because he wants to have Skype sex with a girl and he doesn't want to tell her that he's disabled. And it turns out really sweet, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
Which is hard to make.
I was just reading Alan Sepinwall's reviews talking about how warm the show is.
It's a hard job to. DJ's coming bowling with us today, which will be interesting. But DJ plays a great disabled.
DJ Qualls, yeah.
Yeah, he does. The funny thing about
really
DJ,
good.
he said to me the other day, he's lost his virginity on film 7 times. 7 times.
That's funny.
Every time they go, we need like a white nerdy guy who has a virgin look. DJ just rocks up.
Yeah,
like,
there's something so innocent and gangly about the way he appears, I guess.
He had cancer as a kid, so I think that's what gives him that sort of look. But
Right.
it's he was also, you wouldn't notice, a Prada model.
I did not know
He
that.
was. If you DJ,
Although now I can totally see it.
if you Google DJ Qualls Prada, you'll see catwalk model stuff of him in the early '90s during the heroin chic years when they wanted everyone to look gaunt and all that type of stuff.
Right.
DJ's fucking there, strutting down all through Italy
How
and
funny.
stuff.
Did you know him before this
No,
show?
he came into audition, and I just watched him in Breaking Bad the night before, so I got all excited when he came in. And I think Memphis Beat had just gotten cancelled, so he was just trying to keep himself busy. And the thing about you can get a good guy to play. Actors want to be disabled. It's like a big thing in the acting
I guess
world.
so, yeah.
That's how you win awards.
Right.
That's how you show a bit of depth. Play disabled. They're
Right.
all up for it. But I'm of the opinion now that I think DJ has the easiest job because he's just sitting there. I want to see like an Oscar go to a disabled or mentally challenged person playing normal.
Yes.
That would be good. When you're watching DVD extra
Yes.
features and there's just a guy going, when Steven Spielberg asked me, and you'd be like, oh my God, that guy was amazing.
You're right.
I couldn't believe Brad Pitt was retarded all these
Because
years.
because maybe if they feel like we're taking their jobs,
Yeah.
then the shoe could be on the other foot.
Well, you know what it's called in the disabled community when an able-bodied person plays disabled, they call it crip face. Like, you call
Why?
it blackface, cripple
Oh,
face.
wow.
Crip face.
So there is a movement.
There's a few people, for the most part, the disabled community have been twittering and supporting the show because we also use another character called Rodney, who is a mentally challenged actor, and he's 4'11". He's about a size 48 waist, 22 leg. And it's hard when you go, we've got a mentally challenged guy here and a guy in a wheelchair, and it's a comedy,
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious in the second episode, by the way.
He comes back in at the next episode 5. He's in about 6 episodes. He wasn't even meant to be in one, but we love him so much.
Well, so for listeners, if they haven't seen the show, let's set up like what it's about for them.
Well, it all stems from a story. I grew up with a friend with muscular dystrophy who's still living, and in real life, and his brother came to me once when about 5 years ago and said, look, I won't say his name, but he wants to go get laid because he's not long for this earth. And so we took him to a brothel to get him a blowjob. And then the story after that, so that's the pilot episode, but after that it's basically we had a disabled guy moved in with us and all the challenges of that. And there's a lot of stories from my stand-up acted out. But it's very hard show to explain. Would you say that's how it is, Gary?
Yeah, I don't really know how to verbalize it either because the first one is very much straight from your stand-up, but then
Yeah.
you guys build off of that.
Yeah, see, episode 4 is straight for my stand-up, but then, like, episode 5 a different story. Most of it's sort of 50-50 stand-up and a few stories that actually happened to me that we've just put in, and then other ones we've obviously just made up. And to begin with, we sort of wanted the Billy character, the disabled guy, to be in 2 or 3 episodes, and FX loved him so much, they said he's in all the episodes. And now I can write for that character easier than I can write for myself. That's like the easy storylines is, you know, Billy's stuck on the toilet and this is what's happened and we're all out and we've forgotten. You know, those ones are a piece of piss to write. The final episode I just watched, which you got to watch it all the way through, is the best work I've ever done. Most proud I've been of anything in my whole career, that final episode.
Which aspect of it are you talking about most?
Well,
because you're writing and are you directing as well?
No, I'm not the director. The guy I co-wrote with it, Peter O'Fallon, is the director of all the episodes. And we wrote. But
you write and you produce.
Yeah, me and Peter wrote everything. I produce and then I act. But for me, it's being what you call an offensive comic. And then writing a show that is sweet in parts I'm very proud of, because I think people see me as being a bit more aggressive or jerky, you know. And the only thing that bothers me is I'm playing a character fairly close to myself on the show.
Same name, yeah?
Yeah, same name.
Same stage name.
Yeah. And a lot of people are comparing me to Danny McBride in Eastbound and Down, which is pretty offensive. Because I don't think my character's that bad a guy in the show. I think he's all right.
No way. That's a bad comparison. That's
Yeah. Someone said I look like the Pillsbury Doughboy. You should wait till episode 12, 13 when catering really got to me. I get fat as this show. I've dropped 10 of the pounds since. And not through any effort, just through not going to work. But there's fucking donut trays everywhere and dessert platters and shit. I have no self-control. I'm good at bringing healthy food into my house and eating healthy food in my house. But if it's there and someone's carrying a tray, I eat the fucking donut every time.
Yeah. What's your favorite donut?
I like the white cream filling on like a chocolate donut type of thing. Yeah, my girlfriend got really into donuts in the last 2 weeks of her pregnancy. It was out of hand. She was like hoarding them. Like you'd see her in a corner with like 4 or 5. She'd come down to the set and she'd be scurried away because she was so embarrassed. But that was it. She'd go off to a private corner to do it. I'll tell you a funny story. For me, being a good dad and all that type of stuff, and all that is I don't want to cheat on my girlfriend on the road or anything like that, and I try to keep myself in check because it's easy to do that. And so I started going to SAA meetings when I was Sex Addicts Anonymous, so I wouldn't do anything odd or anything, just to keep myself in check when I'm on the road. I just did it on my own accord, you know.
Do you consider yourself a sex addict?
No, I don't consider myself to be a sex addict, but I if I'm drunk or something and there's a girl in a dressing room or something like that, it's the same as when a donut walks by with a thing. You know what I mean? I have little to no self-control.
Right, okay.
So in most things in my life, I'm not very good with self-control. And so I try to keep myself in check by doing something maybe that day that will remind me of a thing and not to, you know what I mean, keep myself in check, right? So I go along to this one and it's interesting, Sex Addicts Anonymous, because you go in there because you feel really good about yourself, because I'm like, I've slept with a few prostitutes, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, the guy next to you is like, I want to fuck my kid. And you're like, whoa.
Wow.
Whoa. Wow. You're not going to be my sponsor, right? So you try to keep your distance from these different people. So I go along to this meeting, and it was just like 5 fat guys. And I was sort of sitting there going, all right. So the first guy stood up and he said, look, I try to keep it from my wife. I just go out in the middle of the night and do it. I go at parties. I find a room to go and do it by myself. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. And then I stood up and I said, well, for me, it's always been prostitutes, right? Everyone looked at me and I went, what is this? And they go, Overeaters Anonymous. And I went, well, that is one of my problems, but not my biggest problem. I wish you all good luck. And I just sort of slipped out.
Right. Oh, that's hilarious.
because I mixed my AM PM. It was the right room, but it was
right. Yeah, because a lot of the 12-step meeting, like the different types, meet in the same room.
Yeah, and it's also a lot of 7 AM meetings because people want to do it before work, and 7 PM because people want to do it after work.
Right.
So I just mix my AM PM up. And to those overeaters, I'm sorry for interrupting your.
Well, now they have a good story too.
Overeaters Anonymous, come on, just fucking Jenny Craig it, right? You know what I mean? Like I go up and down with me weight, but it's just a matter of I don't know. I don't know. You know, cigarettes are hard to give up. Drugs are hard to give up. I guess food's the same thing.
Yeah.
I watched my mother basically eat herself to death over her whole life. You know, it's a toughie eating.
I think that the sort of the through line with all of that is compulsive behavior.
Yeah.
So in a sense,
yeah,
the steps can be applied to all of it. So did you go on to get a SA sponsor, and did you do the whole thing?
No, I just like to go to the meetings and stuff. I haven't been to lots of them. I've been like 3 times. You know, but it's like the change of life where I just want to be a good dad more than anything. More than being a good comic or anything, I want to be a good dad. And so for me to be a good dad isn't just earning enough money to support him or whatever. It's just being a good guy. And that's what I want to be.
Was this a concern of yours before?
No, not really.
How bad of a guy were you?
What do you mean? No, I fucked a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like
what were your relationships like before?
I was always the type of bloke that dated a girl for a couple of years and then got bored and went on to a next girl for a couple of years. You know, I never really thought that much about getting married or anything like that. But the kid's definitely a game changer for me.
Did you have trouble staying faithful?
Yes.
Were you ever faithful?
At stints, yeah, I had 6 months here, 6 months there, where I was pretty good, you know,
right,
and stuff. But it's harder for a guy who's on the road a lot doing what I do, and if you've got any level of fame and you're on the road a lot and you're partying whilst being on the road and all that type of stuff, it's a tricky one. I never was the type of bloke who had affairs. I never had 2 girls going at once. Right. You know, it was never like there was
just hooking up.
Yeah. It was never anything like that. But no, I've been pretty good of late. I'm good. I'm not pretty good. I've been great.
Did you think that you wanted to have a kid?
Yeah, well, I always wanted to have a kid. Yeah, I love children. I find it weird when I meet people who don't like kids. You know, when you meet these people, it's like, weren't you a kid? You know, don't you? Right. Like, there's one thing that bonds us. We were all once children, and I find it weird when, like, there's even people at my party that are like, do you want to hold the baby? And they're like, no.
Yeah. What is that? I feel like someone who says they don't like kids, there's more they're saying. They're just not saying it. I don't know what it is. It's like some sort of like, I feel like kids don't like me, or I'm nervous. I'm afraid I'm going to drop your baby.
Or maybe they weren't happy with their own childhood and they're worried that they think. But it's these people that it's like who do get annoyed on planes. It's for me. I never really got that upset sitting next to. This is funny. I got asked on TMZ the other day, would I rather sit next to a baby or a fat person? That was the only time I've ever been on TMZ, and that's weird that we're talking about it again. That is really weird. The answer,
I don't condone people's dislike of those two. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but a fat person, if they can't have the armrest down, that is a disappointing flight. When you're like,
well, yeah, because then it's like, oh, frottage. I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of bratty kids either. But my anger isn't towards the child; it's towards the parents.
See, I remember my mom saying the thing is that because as a little kid, the fact that my parents would get sort of agitated around a baby that wouldn't stop crying, I felt like, but I'm not much more than a baby. How can you be minding this? Like, why are you not tolerant of it? And I remember my mom explaining that once, when you have a kid, the sound of a baby crying like triggers your kind of, your breasts, and then maternal, you just lactate. Yeah, not really. I mean, you just feel like you want to go to that kid. I don't know. Maybe she was lying.
Yeah, I'm of the policy with my child to let him cry it out a little bit more, just to see if he'll stop. But my girlfriend doesn't mind. She gets straight up and just comforts him. It doesn't matter what time of night. And look, for the most part, I think I have a good baby in comparison to what other stories I've told. Yeah,
sounds like you do. So you and your girlfriend met on set? Is that how
on
you guys
set?
met?
Yeah, but we made the pilot like 15 months ago. Mm-hmm. So we have a 3-month-old child, so you can do the maths.
Yeah.
But it was fun. You know, it was weird because my girlfriend had just broken up with Nathan Fillion.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, oh.
Yeah, no, and
yeah.
And
upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not much of an upgrade.
Sure you are. I don't know what he's like at all, but the guy from Castle, for people who are like, I know that name.
The Firefly guy, yeah. So that was that. I much more glamorous than me, I'm sure.
No. Nathan Fillion. Pff.
I'm funnier. And if you look at the photos, he's fatter than I am. He's put on the weight, old Castle. He's a big boy. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I've got that. I've got less hair. He's got better hair than me. But, you know, I've got my own TV show too. It might be on cable.
That's right.
Fucking great TV show.
Yeah, Castle sucks.
You have way more cred.
Yeah, Castle.
You're more...
I've never seen Castle, but I think it sucks.
Do you even know what it's about?
Probably.
I think it's about like a billionaire crime solver.
Yeah, I think he's a... Why waste time talking about that?
But it's interesting, though. Like,
he's an author who writes crime novels, I think.
So basically...
And so he, like, shadows this woman.
They nicked the idea from Murder, She Wrote. He's Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
My girlfriend
Jessica.
used to go out with Angela Lansbury. Mm. Oh, there you go. That was the theme song to Murder, She Wrote never really fit in with the rest of the show.
I am blanking out on what the theme song was, but I remember you'd see the typewriter. Oh, yeah, the typewriter.
Right. It was all cheery, and then like the first thing was, "Oh, you're cheating on me, bullet to the head."
It's a little light murder.
This old bag would be wandering around, and just every time she was in some seaside resort, there'd be a fucking murder. And no one ever thought there's a pattern to this. Wherever Angela Lansbury is, someone gets killed.
You're right.
You know, if she just stayed in New York,
the elephant in the room.
It was always she was on holidays and a murder was made.
Did you always want to do a TV show?
Yes. Yeah, I guess so. I never really thought about it. I was pretty content with the stand-up and all that type of stuff. And I still am. I'll never stop being a stand-up. You can't say I'd really like to do a TV show in the sense that it's very hard to get one. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'd written so many scripts that had been sold and were about to become a pilot. I did a pilot in the UK, which sucked. And
Why?
It just wasn't good. It wasn't funny, and the script was bastardized and rewritten 1,000 times. And the cool thing about this show is this is the first show that's actually been made, and it's the closest thing out of anything I've created to being what I actually wanted it to be. So when I actually watch it, I go, all right, cool, this is what I wanted. Mm-hmm. You know, so even if it doesn't get renewed and it's just one season or whatever, and I won't know that for another month or so. I'm proud of it, you know.
And how did this come about?
I went into the offices at FX and I went in with Peter O'Fallon, who I'd met. And Peter O'Fallon made The Riches. It was his big show before that with Eddie Izzard. And he wanted to not do hour-longs anymore. And he met me in a bar and he said, I'd like to do half hours. And I said, all right, I got this story about me taking a friend with muscular dystrophy. And we went in the next day and I did the routine. The routine takes 35 minutes to do on stage. And if you do it conversational, it takes about 40 minutes if you're acting like it's not a routine. Mm-hmm. And so I just told him this story, and I got them all laughing. And John Landgraf, the head of FX, went, all right, we'll make that. And then I went, oh, I got other stories. Right? And my agent literally pulled me by the arm out of the room. And I said, what are you doing? He goes, you just fucking won.
Yeah.
If you keep talking, you'll talk your way out of it, all right? And so I went, oh, thanks, everyone. And then like a month later, we were up in Portland making the show. We filmed the pilot in Portland, but the rest of it's done in Venice.
Why Portland?
There's a tax break up there, and we used the camera crew and all the people from a TV show called Leverage, and they were friends with Peter, and so we got them all cheap in their off season.
That story about almost talking yourself out of it, I can totally relate to that because I feel like I do that. Like, I should stop talking at this point, but I'll add like another 3 paragraphs, which will somehow undermine myself. Is that something you do?
Exactly. They would have gone, all right, great, we're making it. And I go, well, that's not even that great a story. I've got other stories that are better. And then they start thinking, actually, it's not the greatest story. And then you're like...
Well, yeah, because I think... See, I'll speak for me, but I have a feeling maybe this is for you too. Like, that kind of, like, real talk or humility or whatever in a not show business room comes across as just being a normal person. But I think that so much of show business is about, like, being... authoritative and assertive and just and being persuasive, right? Yeah.
I think for now when we have the notes calls on the scripts, I just shut the fuck up, man. I just let him say things, and then I go, okay, because I know that I'll lose other jokes if I keep talking, because I'll literally go, well, I don't see why you have a problem with this joke, because there's a joke that was way more offensive, and then they're like, actually, that joke is bad. And you're like, fuck, I lost both jokes. Just shut up. Yeah. So, I just shut up.
How has the notes process been?
It's all right. It's pretty good. It's just over the phone for the most part. And now it's just us sending in episodes and them doing fine tweaking on the edits, There's only been, I'd say, 2 or 3 jokes that I'm disappointed I lost, But for the most part, you got to look at it. You can hear every comedian bitch and moan and say, I went to the network and the network executives, blah, 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 blah. The point is they've made more fucking TV shows than you have. So you got to listen to them.
Yeah.
You can't think me making my first TV show that I have all the fucking answers, because I obviously don't.
Can you tell us one of the jokes that didn't get in?
At the end of the pilot, we took 2 takes when the cop comes up to the car and he sees Billy asleep and the other guy dribbling. I played cerebral palsy, and the guy thought it was a car full of disabled people, and he let us go because he thought that we were so happy for us to be driving around by ourselves. And it was funnier. It was less touching. But for the pilot, I think everyone freaked the fuck out about
weird. It's funny that they wouldn't... Like, to me, it's like, why is that so much... Why is that so over the line?
It's when you pull the face, you go, "Thank you, officer," and you do all that. You know what I mean? And it was really funny, and it tested really good. But it was, we were worried that the reviewers maybe that would turn a lot of people off, and so. But it was definitely a funnier ending.
Are there things that, as an offensive comic, which you referred to yourself as earlier, are there things that you won't joke about? Is there anything off the table?
The only things that I won't joke about are the things that I don't, that are personal to my own life, that I don't want to be thinking about or remembering when I'm on stage. That will get me sad. See, I understand that if I make a joke about AIDS, that there's people in the room that have got HIV, or if I make a joke about cancer, there's people in the room. Everyone knows someone who's died of cancer. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I always find it very odd when someone comes up and goes, "How dare you do that? My grandfather died of pancreatic cancer." And you're like, well, I just did a joke about AIDS as well. I understand that you're upset, but you have to rationalize that there's a lot of upsetting jokes in the whole show. And it's not directed at you, and it's not, all that type of stuff. So I don't joke. I had someone very close to me commit suicide, so I don't really joke about suicide on stage because I just don't want to think about that.
Yeah, I also, someone very close to me committed suicide. This was years ago, and I remember after it, because I've always been able to laugh at everything, but after that, any suicide joke, like I remember, this was a joke, but not really. Like I made a little piece of paper, I was hanging out with a friend, I made a piece of paper and I wrote suicide jokes, / because like I just couldn't, it would bring up all the grief again.
Exactly.
I could not even, and like Kurt Cobain jokes or things that, tasteless jokes that if it was something else, I would have laughed at, all of a sudden were offensive to me.
Exactly. But I can watch a comedian do a suicide joke and I won't laugh because it does upset me, but I have the power of mind that, okay, I reset after that joke and we go again, and I don't discount everything, because even non-offensive comedians will do jokes where, that woman, she should fucking kill herself. They'll do some joke like that, and they'll make suicide jokes in The Simpsons where like Homer's holding a noose just in the last one. And I think that people make fun of that very freely, and it's, man, I tell you what, until you've gone through a suicide, fuck me, cancer seems like a cakewalk in my because at least you have time and you have something to blame.
Yeah.
And with suicide, everyone blames themselves.
Yeah.
And no one gets to say sorry, or no one gets to say goodbye, and it's a horrible ending.
For me, it was just this feeling of like everything. It was like the world imploded. Like everything went wrong, and people are walking around acting normal. People who don't know, and like the world is not normal anymore. Like, it was
mortifying.
Yeah,
yeah, and so that's the one thing that I personally don't joke about. But I'm not offended when other people do joke.
Did you? I also, for a while, when people would just colloquially be like, "Oh, if that happens, I'm gonna fucking kill myself," I'd be like, "Wait, do I need to take that seriously?" Because I was so on guard because I felt like I had missed the signs, even though in my situation it wasn't at all like how you see on after school specials of like the person being like, I want you to giving away things, or there weren't really any signs, and that's what freaked me out. Is that how could we all have missed this?
Yeah, it's horribly sad. As someone who I've had depression in my life, it's when people, it bugs me to this fucking day, is when people start going, "Oh, it's a coward, it's a cowardly act," or it's these people who don't believe you get into heaven. I don't believe anyone gets into heaven, but these people who pass such judgment. How could this person do this? They had kids, they had whatever. If you're that low in your brain, you believe that it's better for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the horrible thing, is that this person leaves the planet thinking the world will be better without me, or my kids will have a better life. I'm such a fucking fuck up. That, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that is where their brain is at. They're not doing it like fuck you. They're not doing that. And so many people think, oh, it's a cowardly thing. Not cowardly. I think Doug Stanhope has a routine where he says, put a gun in your mouth and fire it and see how fucking cowardly you are.
Right.
It's a fucking brave act to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Not that it's a good act or something. It's definitely not a smart act, but it's tough. Mm-hmm. And it's a horrible thing, suicide. And I feel like we donate so much money to breast cancer and all that type of stuff, and I feel like suicide sort of gets the bum deal out of diseases.
Yeah, I think because it's this lack of understanding of the mental illness or the whatever state that precedes it. It's like, because people who are very removed, I hear people all the time say stuff like, well, if that's what the person wants to do, da-da-da, and it's like, but it's not. I mean, my belief is it's not a rational decision. No.
And it's definitely not what they call the easy way out. That's turmoil.
Yeah.
Turmoil's fucking worse than any pain you can have in your body.
So how long did it take you to get back to feeling normal, if you are?
I'm still not over that. But to stop blaming myself, it took 2 years. Stop blaming myself and to take some time and sit back and go, okay, I had a fight with her before she did it. I won't get into too much details. I had a fight the night before. And but she had a lot of hard things. She'd lost her sister and she lost her mother in the course of a year before, and she was going through a hard time. And a lot of people fight with people before they do it because they.
Yeah, well, I had a similar thing because it's like, because for me, like, you fight with the person because they're not being themselves.
Yeah, and exactly. And so it's a very. I'll tell you the one funny thing about it was I rang my mother up and I said, Mum, I said some horrible things to her in this fight. I didn't mean any of it. And now she's dead, and my mother went, in life you say things you don't mean, and you regret them, and that's just life. You have to move past it. And she was sort of making me feel better, and she goes, I'm just so happy. I've never said anything to you kids or your father that I regret. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing to the general public? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
if these are the acceptable things.
Yeah, you said to me 6 months ago, I want you to know that when I'm dead, in many ways you've been a huge disappointment to me.
Oh, my God.
That's what she said during the fight. And I said, you have nothing that you regret saying to me ever.
Right.
I'll tell you the one funny thing about it was I rang my mother up and I said, Mum, I said some horrible things to her in this fight. I didn't mean any of it. And now she's dead, and my mother went, in life you say things you don't mean, and you regret them, and that's just life. You have to move past it. And she was sort of making me feel better, and she goes, I'm just so happy. I've never said anything to you kids or your father that I regret. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing to the general public? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
if these are the acceptable things.
Yeah, you said to me 6 months ago, I want you to know that when I'm dead, in many ways you've been a huge disappointment to me.
Oh, my God.
That's what she said during the fight. And I said, you have nothing that you regret saying to me ever.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you get into comedy?
I wanted to be a comedian since I was a little kid. I always admired stand-up comedians when I saw them on TV. That was always the best bit for me, is if you were watching a Tonight Show. My other friends would look forward to the band that was going to be on, but I always looked forward to the comedian. And my brother could be a comedian if he wanted to be.
The cop or the property
developer?
developer?
Guy. He's a really funny guy. And so me and him used to, as little kids, do sketches and fake radio shows and all sorts of shit, And I went and did an open spot when I was 17 in the Sydney Comedy Store, and it went really well. And they told me if I had to come back again, I had to bring my father or an adult with me if I was to come back in.
Because you were only 17.
Because I was underage by a year to be in the bar. So I brought my dad next time, and it was terrible storm in Sydney, and there was 6 people in the audience, and I tanked, and one of those 6 people was my dad, and 3 of the other people were telling me to go back to school or whatever, and all the other comics were like adults, And I walked off, and I got back in the car with my dad, and it was raining, and he just said, "This isn't for you, mate." He goes, "I know you want to do this, but you're not really..." Because my parents don't... I don't remember my parents laughing at me.
What does your dad do?
My father's a carpenter. And so he said, "Oh, this isn't for you, mate." And I sort of just forgot about it, And then I was 20... It was the year 2000, January of 2000. And I was 22 or something, 21, 22. And I went and I was at university studying musical theatre and opera.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I did the same course that Hugh Jackman did in the same university.
And look at him now.
Exactly. He's the most famous one to come out of our course. But it was a scholarship thing where I had to go sing and do an audition. And so I was doing jazz hands and tap and singing and stuff. And every time we did a production at university, I'd get the funny role. And I remember thinking my confidence was up again, that every time I went on, people would laugh. Even if they gave me a serious role, people would laugh. And I thought, all right, I'm funny. And so I started doing open mics in Western Australia where I was at university, and they had one club that was every second Wednesday above this pub, and I went in there and lied and said that I was a professional comic in Perth so I could jump the queue. And I went on, and look, this is going to sound really arrogant, but I would say within the course of 6 months I was one of the best comics in Perth, because it was a small...
You arrogant bastard.
It was a small pond. I wasn't...
And you're really funny.
But I think that's a great way to do it. If being among people, because no one was full-time, no one could be full-time, there wasn't the gigs. You could sometimes drive out to the mining towns in Western Australia, Kalgoorlie and all that, and this 6-hour drive, and play to a whole lot of guys that had been down a hole for 6 months. And it was very easy just to get good. I was pretty hacky. I was doing a lot of old jokes and stuff like that. But then I went to Sydney and did it for about 6 months, and I moved to the UK. And then I was a full-time comic as soon as I got to the UK because there's a lot of work.
Did you move there? Did you move there to continue because of comedy?
That was my secret plan, but what I told my parents was I just wanted to travel. But I intended on not coming back.
Did you finish the opera?
No.
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 Were you good at singing and tap dancing and all that?
I sang for the Australian Opera in 2 productions.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were they?
The Flying Dutchman, which is Wagner. I was only in the chorus for one song.
Still.
And I was, for the West Australian Opera, I was in Romeo and Juliet by Charles Gounod, the French.
Do you like opera? Like, do you listen to it? I was just talking about this with someone, with my boyfriend, actually. Both of us were saying that we want to like opera, but it's like it doesn't...
you get the
Work.
big famous songs, Puccini and all that type of stuff. They are beautiful. Like my best friend in the whole world is an opera singer in Australia who I lived with at university, and he's like a lead in the Australian Opera. It's very weird now to see how our 2 lives have gone
diverged,
separate.
right?
But no, I wouldn't have been happy there. But also, I'm looking at his life. It's not a lot of money in it.
Really?
You know, even he's at the top of his field, like he's a lead in each production, but it's really just an $80,000 a year gig, you know, and that's, you know, that's at the top. The chorus wasn't earning fuck all, you know, it's all government funded. And,
right, 'cause it's kind of like this preserved art form.
well, this is one of the things, when I first started doing it, so I had the name Jeffrey Nugent, and I thought to myself,
Godfrey Nugent?
yeah, I thought Jeffrey Nugent can be the opera singer, and Jim Jefferies can be the comedian, and we'll see which career takes off.
Oh, wow.
Faster.
You splintered.
Yeah, because I thought I'm never going to do both. And then I got nodules on my vocal cords in the last year at university. I couldn't sing anymore. I just couldn't sing. I just sang too much and partied too hard, and I had you can still hear now in my voice, but I had calluses on my vocal cords, and so I had surgery to remove them, and they basically said I couldn't talk for a few months.
Was that must have been hard?
Yeah, I was just sitting at home, and I plotted. I just went, all right, this is it. I'm going to really commit to stand-up comedy. And even if my voice repairs, I'm not going to do that job anymore. You know, and I left university in my final year. I was about 6 months off finishing. And off I went.
Is that one of the reasons that you would be a disappointment to your mom?
I came from a very working-class family. The singing thing happened purely out of luck. I was in a high school musical, and I got spotted by a talent scout who said, come and audition for this thing. And then they put me in a young singers program, and I didn't know I could sing. And I was a tenor, and I was 6 foot tall, and that's very rare. So that's what the appeal of me was. Because if you watch operas, it's always some great big fat woman and a little tiny guy. Because the shorter you are, the higher your vocal cords, because your vocal cords are shorter. So for me to have a high voice back then and to be 6 foot tall was good, marketable for that type of thing. And so my mother, who was a high school teacher, my father was a carpenter who ended up being a maintenance man at a high school, you know, because his business went bust. And my mother, who has aspirations of being more high class than she is, she very much enjoyed the opera singing. It was something that she really got on board with. And then to go from being an opera singer to a comedian, and not just a comedian, one of the dirtiest comics in the world, that was a hard pill for her to swallow, from singing, you know, Wagner to saying cunt all the time.
Well, that I feel you on that one.
Yeah.
Does it bother you that she has a problem with?
No, because now it's okay. You know, I got a house in the Hollywood Hills. You know, that wouldn't have happened singing songs.
Mm-hmm. So you went to England to secretly pursue comedy.
Yeah.
And then when did you decide to move here?
That happened. I was doing Montreal Just for Laughs Comedy Festival, and I met my manager. She was drunk in a bar, and she doesn't drink anymore, so I don't know if she'll be happy with me telling this, but she was drunk in a bar, and I met her, and she goes, oh, people have been telling me to come and see your show. And I said, well, you should see it. She goes, I'm leaving tomorrow. And she goes, I think you're very charming. And I went, thank you. And she goes, I think I'll manage you. Are you up for that? So I went, all right. So my manager's the same manager I've got now.
But were you skeptical of this drunk woman in a bar?
But I was of the opinion, I had no representation in America.
Yeah.
I had no thoughts of moving to America, so I'm like, all right, fucking try your luck.
Yeah.
If you want to book me in for some gigs, I'll come over for a couple of weeks. Who gives a shit, right? And so without ever seeing me, she booked me, and I came over here and I did 20 minutes at the Laugh Factory, which they stared at me. The accent, the swearing, whatever it was, they just didn't get what was going on. And this was the first time she saw me, and I was like, oh, fuck this. And then she got me, I supported Dennis Leary in a big theatre for 5 minutes. And I did good. And then, like, CAA just went, hey, we want to represent you. And I was like, all right. I didn't know who CAA was at the time. I had no idea. But once again, I thought, wow, I don't have an agent.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what an agent was. I thought a manager was an agent. And I didn't know the difference. And so I went, okay. And then, you know, I got the HBO special like 6 months later. So it all worked out. You know, it was a bit daunting because I was quite a popular comedian in the UK, and it took me 8 years to get to that stage where I was doing my own gigs in theatres and stuff like that, and then to think, fuck, I got to start that again.
Is that how you felt when you got here?
Yeah, yeah. But the thing was, I'd gone as far as I could go in the UK. They were never going to put me on TV.
Why?
Well, in the UK is very house proud. They want to have British people running the show. They want to have the BBC doesn't want to give money to an Australian guy from the colonies to host a TV show. I can get a spot on a TV show, but I'd never be an actor in one, or I'd never be a game show. You know, none of those things would happen. And it hadn't happened for any other foreign acts either. You know, I was working out there with a lot of guys like Rhys Darby, who went on to be Murray in Fly the Conchords, and the Fly the Conchords. We were all rocking out in the UK and couldn't get on TV, you know. And that was a big inspiration to me when I saw the Conchords show on HBO. I thought, all right, that's cool, you know. And then Chris Lilly had his show, Summer Heights High. And I remember thinking, with all the foreign chefs, all your Gordon Ramsays and whatnot,
Right.
and then your Simon Cowells, and I started thinking accents aren't a hindrance in America.
Cat Dealey.
Yeah, Cat Dealey was a two, but
I think they actually help in America.
in America they help. In Britain, it was a thing, a mark against me. And so I thought, well, you know, I might give America a go. And plus, it's just nicer out here to live. You know, someone gives you a visa to work for a bit, and you think, fucking hell, it's nice to be in the sun again. Especially growing up in Australia and then living in London for so long. And I was like, fuck, the sun's all right, eh? You know.
I didn't realize it wasn't sunny. Wait, is Australia sunny or no?
Australia's really sunny.
Okay, right. So all of a sudden you were without the sun.
I was without the sun for 10 years, you know, and then to come to California, which is basically, California is the same weather as Sydney. You know, this is how cold our winters get, and this is how hot it gets, you know, and it seems the same to me. It's all the gum trees everywhere.
So what was the thing that made you decide, okay, now it's time to come here?
The HBO special. And then I thought, I honestly thought that maybe bigger things would happen from that. I thought, well, you know, the year I did it was like Ricky Gervais, George Carling, me, and fucking Will Ferrell. And I thought, oh, this will be a big thing, you know. And then it just, I just sold a lot more tickets and got a sort of a bit of a cult following. And, you know, people like Adam were nice enough to have me on his show, but it was, to this day, I sort of feel a little bit out of the loop. It's harder for me. I don't have a clique of friends out here in the same way that all the other comics do. All my comedian friends are in the UK, because it feels to me that your group of friends in comedy, you have a graduating class like you would anything else. So you have the guys that I started on the open mic circuit, they were my buddies. And then as we all went up, and then, you know, we all started partying together and all that type of stuff. We were all the same age. And now, you know, everyone's dead nice to me and stuff, but I only work with guys who are getting $100 to be my support act, who are just starting out themselves. So it is a different vibe in that sense.
I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this question. Do you feel a culture shock or culture clash being here? Do you feel different?
I feel like the gun thing I find phenomenal. You know, I can't fathom the want for guns because I've lived in countries without guns and it is better. And I've seen it firsthand, it's better. And people seem to have this theory that there might be a tyrannical government they have to overthrow or with the guns, that's the one that really sort of, and then Piers Morgan sort of feels the same way. Man, normally I think Piers Morgan's a dickhead, but he feels the same way that I do. And everyone's like, go home, get out. And I don't understand that a country of immigrants, you know, unless you're an American Indian, I don't want to hear go home if I don't agree with one of your opinions. I also don't want to hear that this Constitution is like the Ten Commandments. It's fucking not. There are amendments. The word means to amend. The word means to change. You also used to have the Sixth Amendment, which was slavery, and that changed. But then when the gun one seems to be, and I can't get over that. The religious aspect.
Well, no, it's like people put, I always say people put the Second Amendment ahead of the First Amendment.
Yeah.
It's like, let Piers Morgan say what he wants.
Yeah, exactly. And this whole, I've been saying on stage lately, I don't give a fuck if you have the guns. Just don't lie to me. Just don't go, I have them for protection. They're no protection.
Right.
It's no protection. It's not. If you're asleep in your house, I had a break-in with a machete. If you're asleep in your fucking house, a gun is no protection. Yeah. If you're one of these people who say, I keep it locked up in a safe, once again, no protection. It's locked up in a fucking safe, right? So I don't quite know.
Well,
plus, if someone
the
breaks
Atlanta thing, his mother had 6 guns in the house. She was the first one he killed.
Exactly. And the semi-automatic rifles, and it seems like, man, because we had guns in Australia, we had them, and then we got rid of them in 1984. And I can't. It was 1986 to 1994. We had 14 or 16 massacres. We banned the guns in 1994. And we haven't had a massacre since. But the difference was when they did it in Australia, the Australian public were asking for it. They said, get rid of these guns, right? Where the American public aren't asking for it.
I thought maybe they would. I thought that this Newtown shooting would be a watershed moment. And I do think there were some people on the fence who are now in favor of gun control. But you hear these statistics about, like, the sale of guns is up so much since then that,
it's
I don't know. It's weird because I'm like you, like I'm not pro-gun, and yet I just think that there's something so, it's like in American blood, and I don't understand it, but it's like the fabric of us is you will not take our guns.
The culture, that's what I'm saying. Cultural shock is to. I meet people who I think are rational people, and they'll still say to me, "Don't take my gun." And I think it's something that's been indoctrinated into your culture so much, and it's just when you meet people who are like, "I can't believe the police don't have guns in the UK." Well, they don't need them because the criminals don't have guns.
Right.
And they have guns. They can get guns. If there's some big thing happening, a SWAT team will still show up. They have all that. But the cops shouldn't be, thinking a gun's going to be pulled. They just need
and the irony being right now, as we're recording this, the whole Dorner thing where this ex-cop, is...
We think he shot himself, didn't we, just an hour ago?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A gunshot was heard inside the house while it was on fire, and he never came out.
Oh, wow.
So they're working under the assumption that he committed suicide.
But if he's a genius, he would have shot, and then they would all come in thinking he's dead, and then he's ready. But, that's just me.
Now we know. Now we know how you would do it.
But see, the thing is, there's people who are glorifying this guy now.
I know.
Who think he's like a folk hero. It is basically the storyline of Rambo. It's the cops pissed him off. Now he's trying to kill. It's Rambo. And I was on Rambo's side.
I know. That first occurred to me today. I was thinking, I wonder if there are people who don't know who to root for, because a lot of people are pretty anti-cop, and he is going after them.
Well,
and they have fucked up so much in trying to get him. Yeah,
it's the problem is that this guy's fired, and he said it was because he was trying to stand up against corruption and racism and all that type of stuff. But let's be honest. This guy's a nut job. Yeah. He was probably fired because he was a nut job. Because
he does stuff like this. Did you say you had a break-in with a machete?
Yeah, that's actually the next episode of Legit.
Oh.
Coming up, yeah. It's not a stand-up routine, but I've told it a lot of times on radios. Yeah, I had someone come through the window with a machete.
This was in Hollywood?
In Manchester, England.
Oh, wow. So what'd you do?
This is the beautiful thing. People go, don't you wish you had a gun? Well, what happened was they tied me up. They cut my head.
Oh, my God.
They stole my stuff. No one was injured. No one was hurt. They're now spending 12 years in prison.
How badly were you cut?
I got a little thing on my head here. Just a scar.
A machete wound.
Yeah. Just a little scar.
Were you scared out of your mind?
Yes, thought I was going to die, yeah. And people go, what if you had a gun? I was sleeping, so, naked, didn't have my gun holster.
Well, you should probably sleep in that. You should be naked except for your gun.
Yeah, I should have had my gun on me.
Did you have, trauma afterwards, or were you afraid to sleep?
I would say I had trauma for 6 months after that, where I was a little bit more... a bit nervous. There was a small amount of racism creeped into me that has since gone, and I'm being honest about.
Yeah.
Because the taunting that I got when this happened by this man because I was white. There's two of them actually that did it, but there was one that was. I was broke. I was just a broke guy living in a house with some other comics, but my girlfriend was there and they threatened to rape her and that.
Oh my God!
It was
just a random.
Yeah, we're doing a very cartoon version of it on Legit. That isn't scary. But there was a court case and they thought we were drug dealers. Yeah, so we didn't have any drugs. We had a little tin of pot in the room that we gave them.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So by the time people hear this, the episode may have aired. So.
Yeah, Thursdays. When's this coming out?
I'm not quite sure yet. Because we have a couple in the can, but we might bump it up.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Cool. Yeah,
Who knows?
Well, you
I
might
think. Okay, so we are almost out of time, but I think we have time to do a quick Just Me or Everyone.
What's this?
Something I have thought or done. Is it just me or everyone?
All right, so this is where people send in. This is a segment we do on the show where people send in things that they do or they think, and they wonder, is it just them or is it everyone? So we read them, and then we say whether we also do these, and the right side of the screen is covered by the camera.
That's all right. We can read this.
Okay. Dan the Dodge says, I spent more time debating and evaluating my last phone technology purchase than either my car or house purchase. I totally relate to that. I just tried to buy a new Sonicare toothbrush. There's all these different models. It took I was about at the point where I'm like, I would just pay someone to make this decision for me because it's taken me 2 hours.
I find things on my car all the time. I go, wow, that's cool. Because I never even checked into it. I just thought it looked cool. But yeah, my phone, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Maybe not the house, because the house didn't have much technology going on.
Actually, to be fair, all those purchases would take me a while to make. I just am a very indecisive person.
No, the house took me forever to buy. Mm-hmm. I was, God.
Are you happy with it?
Love it, yeah. But I looked at about 50. All right, next one.
Slick Shot. I'm paranoid of falling asleep with headphones in because I think if I roll over that I'll tangle the cord, choke, and die. No, but now I will be.
No, I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
I very often fall asleep with a laptop in the bed with me because I've been watching something, the cable will be running underneath me. I'm not too nervous about that.
Mm-hmm. _ When I'm wearing a hoodie in a crowd and the hoodie is down, I worry people might put trash in it. Again, now I'll worry about that.
No, never worried about that.
Gary?
No, never occurred to me.
Yeah,
a hoodie?
That must be someone who was bullied a lot in school who thinks people are going to put trash in my hoodie.
You're wearing a hoodie. What if there's a empty box of milk duds
Is there trash in it now?
No, there's
All
not.
Right, good.
There you go.
Good.
A hoodie and sunglasses are things where if I'm wearing them, I have to if I ever pull the hood over my head, I repeatedly take it off. Just like sunglasses, for some reason, I keep having to take them off if I'm around other people.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know. Okay, Newly One Love. I want to be famous just to go on Celebrity Jeopardy and win big. Oh, interesting. I've not had that thought.
This is a weird thing about fame. I'm mildly famous, and I'd like to be slightly more famous so I can do... Not because of all the admiration and people stopping in the street, but I enjoy the activities like throwing the first pitch out at a baseball game and going on game shows as a celebrity. But then if you get too famous, you don't get asked to do any of that stuff. But I threw the first pitch out at the Cubs. It was horrible. I didn't make the plate. It was bad.
Do you get recognized a lot?
I get recognized about twice a day. Mm-hmm. You know, I always think for everyone who comes up and says something, that's probably 10 people who don't say anything and just point, I guess, you know.
And
LA, I get recognized less than everywhere else. I think it's the culture that people don't say anything in LA.
Yeah.
But I was in Atlanta in an airport and I got recognized a lot because, you know, no celebrities in Atlanta, I guess.
mm-hmm. And in England, is there mania?
No, it was comparative, you know. But it's also, you know, it's people lose their shit a lot more if they see you walking to your gig and they're walking to the gig as well. Then they'll really get excited because it's all part and parcel.
Jonathan Vance, I love that little roadmap they put in the box of chocolates that lets you know which one is which. Oh, yeah, the legend.
Yeah, who doesn't love that? I love that.
I do, yeah.
That's why I always hated Forrest Gump. Life's life's a lot like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Every box of chocolates open. I know exactly what I'm fucking getting. The strawberry creams are these ones. These ones are the, you know, I know which ones are which.
You're right. Dick in the City. Driving through a long tunnel makes me feel like I am futuristically racing. I have occasionally felt that, yes. Sometimes I also feel that if I'm going up an escalator, like in a subway station, where the ceiling is kind of slanted, runs parallel with the escalator.
It just, go to Tokyo. Feels like the future all day. Nightmare vision of the future.
Yeah, I've never been there. I don't know if I would want that. That made me sound really provincial. Okay, so Jim, can you read the ones on the right side?
I can. This is from Boing Kitty Boink. I don't know if I said that right.
You did.
When someone says another one bites the dust, I automatically get the Queen song in my head. Of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay, next one.
Taylor Loyal. When I see someone on the highway driving a U-Haul, I get a little jealous.
No, I've never ever felt that.
No, I find the U-Haul's depressing. It's a lot of work.
I've never driven one. There's been times where I've thought maybe I'll just. Oh hell no.
Oh no, it sucks. When I see people driving them, I get nervous because I'm a good driver, and in a U-Haul, I've definitely had some close calls.
And U-Haul
navigate.
U-Haul always means like maybe if you're moving towns, and this is all this shit you've got.
Yeah.
It's a bit depressing.
Now, why are they so hard to manage? Just because they're so big and heavy?
They're just big, and the weight distribution's weird. I would imagine it's an acquired skill, and you could get good at it, but I've always been uncomfortable.
You know what else is hard to drive, but not in the same way? A really old station wagon. It's like driving a boat.
Yes.
All
right, last one. Sir Pentor. In social gatherings, I go to the bathroom even when I don't need to go, just to be alone for 90 seconds.
I've done that. Although I convince myself that I sort of need to go, but it's sort of like just to break up the.
Yeah, I sometimes go to the bathroom to leave the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom, and then I just go and just drain whatever urine I have in me.
Do you take your phone?
I take my phone.
Do you ever have like phone time and like you need to get away and check Twitter?
If you play Word or Scramble with friends with me, know that every word is done during a shit.
Gary, I know that you use your phone on the toilet.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Why wouldn't you?
You know what we're going to need to talk about? Not now, but Temple Run 2.
Oh, yeah, it's a problem.
Temple Run 2, there's a new one.
Oh, yeah, and it's better.
Oh,
way better.
Wait a minute. What the fuck am I playing then? I guess we're talking about it now. There's
What's the difference?
There's more. There's just a little bit more. Now there's a little like mining cart. So at a certain point, you're not just running; you're in a cart that you have to tilt from side to side.
That's Temple Run 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying there's a new one.
No.
2 is the new one.
Oh, yeah, there is. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's cooler.
I'm on bog standard Temple Run.
Yeah, no, you need Temple Run 2.
It's better.
Yeah,
I got
there's
a 20
more
million
fun
on
stuff.
Temple Run, the original one.
Oh my
it took
God.
me forever. Yeah. I got a real good score.
But Temple Run 2 can actually make you motion sick. Like if you play it on an iPad, or for me, I was riding an exercise bike while doing it, and I felt sick for hours afterwards.
That might have been the bike.
I think it was a combination.
Yeah.
All right. I had one more thing to say. Oh, yeah. One more thing on the topic of apps. Sims. Now that I have a puppy, I have no time. I'm going to have to let my Sims die. Or I'm going to have to let the puppy die, but I can't do both.
Oh, because you're taking care of the puppy.
Yeah, it's just
Oh, it's
all
not
of
a
a sudden.
sim puppy. You have an actual puppy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because all of a sudden I actually have to make sure that something is fed and goes to the bathroom, so I don't want to do it virtually.
Fair enough. I'm the same way with my baby.
I was going to say, yeah, you definitely don't want to do Sims. Well, gosh, thank you so much for doing my podcast.
I'm sorry I was late.
That is totally...
I had a wonderful time. This is the most I've ever spoken about myself ever on a podcast.
For real? Not
Yeah,
even,
I feel like I
even
just
on your
told
podcast?
my life story, and I talked about fears and suicide, and it was all very... I hope I was funny at times.
You were.
Absolutely.
This was
a
the
really-
perfect mix of everything.
This is a great episode. Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, so tell people where they can find you.
Jim Jefferies at Jim Jefferies on Twitter. That's Jefferies spelled Jefferies, and same thing on the webpage. Legit 10:30 Thursdays after Archer, and I'm on tour at the moment around America. I'm playing just the big cities. I think by the time this is out, I'm doing the Best Buy in New York. So come along to that.
All right. Thank you so much. And you can follow me on Twitter at Alison Rosen. You can follow the show's Twitter feed at ARIYNBF. You can follow Gary at GPatrickSmith. And if you're going to buy something on Amazon, which you are because they have everything, why not click on the banner on my website? It does not cost you anything extra, but it helps out the show. Okay, I love you guys, and I will talk to you later.